Francesca is a member of South Sound Fruit, and she and Amelia Sabanova over here are actually developing the Pioneer School District Historical Homestead Orchard. So they are going around collecting scion wood from these old homestead orchards and creating a whole wonderful orchard out at Pioneer School. Francesca is a fruit tree enthusiast. That's like an understatement. Francesca has about 150 fruit trees and really knowledgeable. She is a frequent speaker here for Through the Garden Gate.
Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Well, as Mary said, I'm a great enthusiast. There's 7,000 varieties of apple trees and other fruit trees as well. There's quite a few. So probably what you've got at the supermarket is a really limited variety. And when we get into it, as Andrew and Jeannie said, there's all sorts of rootstock as well. So it can be very confusing, but we've narrowed your choices down today. So you're just going to have dwarf apple and semi-dwarf pear. And what I really like about the dwarf apples is I grow them on trellises. So they're two-dimensional. You can space them 3 foot apart. I think I had a person who is good at pruning come by, and he looked at them and then he said, oh, that's where your 90 trees are. They're very compact. You can put them in a very packed space. So if you want a lot of trees and you get carried away, like a lot of people in the fruit club have gotten carried away, you do have space for them. And there's wonderful sizes. There's pixie sizes. You can put them in pots. You can do the dwarf trees and have many. You can do the espalier, two-dimensional. They're really fun. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. I find it a great deal of fun. But on that note, we're also using sharp tools. So
let's just bring it in a little closer here.
There we go. Okay, sharp tools. So I really caution you to use safety and think about what you're doing. It's not a race. You can take as long as you need. We're going to practice first because it's deceptively looks very easy. But in reality, there's a little more to it and you'll get used to the process. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. This is what's called a handy cut tool.
What's it called again?
Handy cut.
Hand cut?
Yeah, and it used to be a Sears, but it's just continued through Sears. So there's some knockoff brands now, but gives you a very nice clean cut. And I will show you. So I don't know if you can all see that. We'll see it later in the presentation. And this is the rootstock, as Andrew mentioned. We have a rootstock and we'll have a scion. So you'll get to choose your scion. There's a number of different ones. They're all located over there. So hopefully you'll find something you like. We've got the Liberty, we've got some Spartan, and we have some other different.
Grafting and Kingston Black.
And
Kingston Black is a cider apple.
Yes.
But it's also very good for eating.
There's Fuji, and I think there's some other slightly more rare varieties there too. Well, Honeycrisp, we have Honeycrisp, and you'll find actually if you grow Honeycrisp here, it's much better than anything you grow yourself is much better than what you get in the supermarket. There's just no question about it. So yeah, so I encourage you to get into this. And the first thing we're going to do is try and find a stick of scion wood that matches your rootstock. So you're going to line them up and sort of see where the diameters are the same. And you're going to cut in between the buds, which is kind of important to do. And then you're gonna see how they match up. So that matches up, and you guys probably can't see, but when you practice, it matches up pretty well. And then we could bind them together at this point, and that's called a whip graft. And we're going to do a whip and tongue because the whip and tongue holds it together a little more tightly so that you're not, if you, you'll find with the whip tongue, with the whip graft, that it will move around. And if you notice when you put it together that it starts wiggling, it's not a good graft. And you're going to have to go back and do something about that. So I'm not sure, can you see all right on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. About 2/3 up from the bottom of this cut and 1/3 from the top, we're going to take our grafting knives. And this is a finger protector. I'm really hoping that we will have fun today. Mary will not have to bandage you up and we will not go to the hospital. So any of you who know how to use a knife, you're welcome to do so to graft, but again, just beware of the safety issues. And I'm going to keep my arms together towards my body, and I'm just going to gently rock both the knife and the rootstock. And there's a point where you'll feel the rootstock slipping, and you want to ease up on the pressure from your knife. So you're just going to rock back and forth really gently. And again, it's not a race. And I'm cutting all the way down to the bottom of this cut. And let's see here. Okay. I'm going to take the scion and do exactly the same thing. It's about 1/3 from the top and 2/3 from the bottom. And I'm just going to rock gently back and forth, arms hugging the body. And as you get closer to the bottom, you'll feel the slipping. And you just want to ease up at that point because sometimes you just cut off parts of the scion, which you also don't want to do. And the thing about this is not the last chance you have. So it's not as though this is all you have. If you cut it too large, you get to cut it again and start over. And hopefully you have enough scion around that it all works out. But again, it's great to practice on just extra wood that's around. I'm going to take this and push it together.
Okay.
I see, so it's interlocking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you, that's why we don't do the plain old whip graft, because that won't interlock and give you as much strength, correct. And the thing I like about the dwarfs is that you can also use something called bee cloth. And when you have them in a string, in a straight line, you just cover them with this material called bee cloth, and it keeps the insects out. So now we're going to use grafting bands. This is a grafting band. And you're going to start in the center. And you're going to wrap around your cut. And I hope you can all see that. Go down. Yes, you're keeping it very taut.
So you started in the middle and went down and then back up?
Yes, and then you do a tie, which you put your finger around so you can get your band underneath it.
Like tiny end of a balloon.
Yes. Oop, you don't want it to do that. Okay, and then pull taut on it. You want this nice and tight because you don't want it going anywhere. And this is it. We are going to wrap it with what's called parafilm.
Same thing, start in the middle.
I actually start at the bottom, and it's self-adhesive. And this acts as the sort of water protection.
And you sort of stretch it?
Yes, you keep it stretched as you're going along. I don't know if you can see that or not. And if this gets in the way, you're allowed to cut it off. You don't need this extra piece anymore. And we'll just keep wrapping until
So obviously you've done it a few times.
and you only really want 3 or 4 buds at the top, so I'm going to cut this off.
How many do you want buds at the top again?
2 or 3 actually. And if you're desperate, if you have some heirloom variety that you really want to graft, you'll find that if it hasn't been pruned for a while, it's going to be very small amount, and that's going to be probably another kind of graft. This is just the basic, most easy. So, but if you're lucky and you go and do a renewal cut for your heirloom tree, then definitely go ahead and harvest that. Okay, and then I'm just going to twist the end. So I don't want this end to transpire, and I also don't want to touch the interior grafts, these pieces, with my fingers. Don't do that. That puts a lot of oils on there, and basically what you've got is living tissue, and you want that to be able to transpire and graft to the scion or the rootstock that you're putting it on. Okay, any questions? I was that good? Okay,
The scion, you can, there's the 2 pieces.
right.
So the scion makes sense. If I have something I want to graft, I can cut the scion, but how do I get the rootstock?
Oh, you have to buy it, or it's what's called stooling, the grass, the rootstock,
Okay.
where you take this, and if you have a certain kind of rootstock, you'll notice that it will start actually producing roots on it, and you can bury that. So you do what's called mounding, and that will produce more rootstock. You'll also find you have a lot of shoots coming up off of your trees, and those are all from the rootstock, and you want to get rid of those as you're maintaining your trees.
Okay, thank you.
Can you pot up those root suckers that come, the rootstock suckers that come up? Can you cut them off and root them?
Sometimes, when I'm grafting, I will take what I cut off the rootstock and stick it in a pot, and you have like a 50% chance that it will come back and you'll have new rootstock. It's kind of iffy, but if you need it in rootstock, it's free and it's the top of your tree. So yeah. And then what we're going to do here, you don't usually want to wave these things around too much, is I will stick it in water, let it rehydrate, and I also really like the mycelium inoculant. I find it just gives it a jump start, and you can keep it in a pot for a couple of years if you're desperate, and then put it in the ground. It's generally best to put it in a 2-gallon pot if you're going to do that. We're just going to send you home with 1-gallon pots, and you can pot it up with the, I think it's decomposed bark.
Yeah, it's wood chips.
Decomposed
wood chips.
Yeah, and that will hold it for a while.